Testing one, two, three.
Testing one, two, three.
Wow. Early today because I have a urologist appointment. And anyway, start with the Lord's Prayer. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. And deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, power, glory, yours now and forever. And your Son, our King, our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag, United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. My father had a saying. He said, you have to learn how to die before you can truly live. And as Jesus has said for those people in Miami, we live in a fallen world. It's not their fault. It's not because they sinned. No. We live in a fallen world. Let's pray that all who have fallen fall into God's hands, and for those brave people who are helping, and the buddies, the dogs that are helping too. So may God be with them. I read from Ezekiel 47:11. I think that's right. But its swamps and marshes will not be healed. They will be given over to salt. 12. Along the bank of the river on this side, and that will grow all kinds of trees used for food. Their leaves will not wither, and their fruit will not fail. They will bear fruit every month, because their water flows from the sanctuary. Their fruit will be for food, and their leaves will be for medicine. Dr. Stanley Sagan, oh my God, an atheist. Anyway, says that, well, this is from 47:9. There will be a great multitude of fish because the waters go there. They will be healed, and everything will live wherever the river goes. A vibrant river pictures the abundant life that God offers, and to those who come to him in faith. John, like Ezekiel, envisions a great, pure river of water of life, clear as a crystal, proceeding from the throne of God and of the Lamb. Revelations 22:1. So today is going to be a short show, but I want to alert you. As you know, I have been in the computer game since I was 7. That's quite a long time, and have seen the growth of everything. I was on ARPANET before that was really what it was called, before the so-called internet. I'll start with the things that have happened in the past. The reason why your pipeline was shut down, they say, but was because of cyber terrorism. We'll go with what they say. That's not completely true. What happened was there was nothing wrong with the pumps, nothing wrong with the pipeline, nothing wrong with the controls of the pipeline. What happened is that they got into the computers and these corporations could no longer bill and get paid. They had no way of doing this. Even though they had been doing this for years, they didn't think of the people. Instead, they stopped everything to get money. I don't have anything. We're bone out. We're out of bones. I'm sorry. You're a boneaholic. I got a fresh box coming today. Bet you ate all bones. There's no more bones. My boneaholic dog. Want to say hi to people? Want to say hi? Come up here. Say hi. Say hi. See? Hi. Okay. I got no bones. I got nothing. I don't have anything. Anyway. So, that's important to understand. Now, I can tell you with other certainty that the Charlie Indiana Alpha was not in their power, which means the power comes from the Congress and the Senate, to form any kinds of software, any kinds of computer software, any kinds of anything to do anything. Specifically, software that really can only be used on domestic systems. No, that purview was given to the charter of the national or the NSA. Okay. These hacking tools were stolen under the Obama Biden regime. And they proceeded to turn up everywhere. They had insights to specific technology that I did not know, and I was commissioned by OEMs to write specific drivers for specific hardware. I know what I needed to know to get the specific PAL or anything that I was writing done. And that's it. There's a certain amount of compartmentalization. The espionage between corporations is extreme. And it's that way for many reasons, because it's a lot easier to steal something than pay your department of scientists to do R&D on it. Not to mention try it out and everything else. Okay. So we get to now. Now I've heard. So you have to be very suspect when the government says they recovered most of the money, because I don't know how that's possible unless they had the actual hash, and they wouldn't have that unless, yeah. So that's pretty suspect, because in all these other cases, they couldn't. And they told people who I personally know there was no chance in recovering that. So that's kind of information is interesting, right? Okay, so this is not innuendo. For years, I've been telling you to prepare for no power, from a coronal mass ejection, from an EMP, from, believe it or not, hardware stores. What, Bob? Yes. Terrorists can buy lots of 20-foot chains and sequentially go to specific substations and throw them over the fence and have those chains land on the transformers at specific exact times to create an overload. It's a fact. There is no way to stop it if they do that. Simple chain. Because most of your substations are protected just by a chain link fence with some barbed wire. Caution, high power. Okay. They did a test run with some terrorists that use AK-47s that shot up a substation transformer with bullets. What they did was they shot out the insulators and they caused that substation to go down that way. More difficult. Skill is required. Okay. And it took a lot of shots. The chain thing, no shots. Really not that much skill. Except for the coordination. Okay. However, most of the electrical switching systems now are controlled by SCRs. They are digital. Okay. They are designed to electrical power isn't like the power of your car or something like that. It is load driven, which means you have a certain amount of sponge within the system, but if you make too much power, it's not used, you're going to have a problem. If you make too little power and there's more demand, you can have a problem. So that's a constant thing that they have to monitor. Okay. On your own personal generator, it's monitored by a voltage control system. And then there is a servo that regulates a throttle. And basically by that, it will set up a fixed RPM of the generator and the engine so that the armature spins exactly at this speed, no matter what the load is. Yeah, I understand it. Sandra Gehertz says Democrats going to want to get rid of gas, oil, and meat. They just want to control. That's all about. It's all about control. 400 million years ago, this planet was frozen. Well, maybe 500,000. Who really knows? They know it was frozen. Okay. And the carbon that was in the atmosphere was 10,000 times what it is per parts per million. Okay, we live in about 495, 98 parts per million now. There was a marriage between fungus and algae that migrated onto the barren land after the ice started melting. Why did it start melting? Yeah, people don't understand. The orbit of the planet changes, and other things happen as well, and also the tilt of the Earth. Okay. Anyway, it converted the CO2, which was in tremendous concentrations, to the atmosphere that we are living with today. Not to mention the regular plants that flourished because of this fungi and everything else allowed for the explosion of life. Okay, and the conversion of our atmosphere as it is. The specific 92% of the greenhouse gases is actually water vapor, simple water vapor. But the CO2 was in much, much, much higher concentrations then. Case in point, the limestone that Florida sits on is made out of calcium carbonate. Okay, that used to be an ancient coil bed because the seas were a lot higher. Okay, when all the ice was melted, the oceans were a lot higher. Also, the seas were a lot lower when there was the last ice age. Just, I would say to them, very simple. What melted the last ice age? Okay. Now, do we need to get off oil and a petrochemical, other types of things? Yes, we do. But we have to use it as a stepping stone because of the fact it's too expensive and it does pollute the land, it pollutes the air, and it pollutes the water. No question about it. But Biden canceled the two grants. There was a grant in Berkeley and it was a grant in MIT that were currently co-working on room temperature superconductors using graphene. Graphene that's based on the coal from West Virginia, believe it or not. That technology had tremendous promise because there's not enough lithium in the planet, and getting lithium is an extremely energy and dirty process. Okay, they don't want to tell you about what they're doing to Africa and South Africa to mine this lithium. It's horrendous. And then what they, in order to refine it in China, the amount of pollution that they're creating is just unbelievable. Not to mention the rare earths, okay, that are involved, which again is tremendous amounts of monazite and other kinds of heavy metals. It's just people don't understand. They just think it's green. It's green. No, what's green was a proposal that was being talked to that Michio Kaku and other scientists worked on, which was the 21st century Hoover Dam, as it were, harnessing Yellowstone for energy, preventing it from blowing in the future and harnessing it to power almost 1/3 of the country with clean power. And Biden canceled that. Canceled that research, canceled the FLIBE thing, canceled. I mean, why? And then why do you give the go-ahead on this old World War II 1947 technology for Bill Gates to build a huge uranium reactor out of Wyoming, which, if it goes off, can kill the country? It's insane. And they're already having further problems in Chernobyl. We know about the 10 million gallons of highly radioactive water that they released into the Pacific at Fukushima, not to mention the 820 tons of it that were being released every single day since 2011. It's the full story is not told. That building was moved 3.15 inches in 40 years. You can't build a building out of concrete and steel and form concrete and have it move. You can't do that. So if there is movement, there's a reason for it. Now, what people don't understand is how that is created. Is it's basically that whole there's the intercoastal and there's the Miami thing over here. That's basically a sandbar. They've been building a tremendous amount on that sandbar, and they haven't done what I would consider to be the analysis of the inner structure to where they're putting a lot of mass out there. Okay. In addition to that, they're putting a lot of mass out there rescuing these poor people. And I'm saying, what about the buildings that are next to it? So then add that on to the fact that it's by the sea and the salt air, rain, water, and the hurricanes have been, and then it was a roof leak. So God knows how much corrosion was done to that steel. All I know is that there was an inspector there and they were planning on doing some stuff. Why didn't that inspector pull the CO for that building, get all those people the heck out of there? That's a very good question. And how could they let this thing move that much? That's not a lot. That's a lot of movement. If you came to your house and it was moved even an inch, you would find it unbelievably bad. I mean, things would be rolling out everywhere. So 3 inches is major. Okay, so yeah, concrete is not designed to do that. Yeah, now you can't stop the power outage. All you can do is prepare for it. Propane generators are great, but you're going to run out of propane. Solar generators are great, but if there's a major eruption someplace or something happens, you're going to lose sunlight to recharge it for an extended period of time. So you have to have other methods to recharge it. Um, so you have to, what we raised. I can't do that now, but we raised a fundraiser for Rick, and we got him a solar powered generator system. But that power source can be charged by his car in as little as 2 hours. It can be charged by his AC outlet. It can be charged by lots of things. He can even buy a portable generator that runs on propane if he had to. But I'm not saying he needs to do that. He has enough power to run his CPAP machine for basically 3 days without any recharging. And he has other things that he can recharge the unit with. So in the combination with the sunlight and the combination with the car, I think he's fine. But that's not talking about refrigeration and things like this. I think it's unrealistic to prepare long term and run a refrigerator. It's just not possible. There's just for you to come up with that kind of power and that kind of fuel supply for extended period of time, 6 months, 10 months, things like this. It's just not going to happen. So that you have to change your perspective and your way of life. So you have to look at what our old folks did and how they lived without refrigeration and without ice. And that's what you have to do. So what power system does it need one? I've done extensive videos on this. The one that Rick has is one that you probably won't need, but it's designed for his loads. You can buy them as little as $1,000, and they go up from there, depending on the amperage that you need. Okay. So, for example, I have a 2,000 to 5,000 synchronous sine wave generated inverter in my truck, in my van. But I have a 320 amp alternator that powers it. It's hooked up directly to it. Okay. So, but it requires me to run my engine at 1,000 RPMs. And how long can I do that? Okay. How long can I run that power supply? I don't plan on doing it very long. I plan on doing it short. But if I had to, I can do it. Okay. So there's that. I also have a 400-watt inverter that simply plugs into a cigarette lighter that would power your laptop, other camera equipment, other types of things and whatnot. An engine doesn't have to run. It can just get its power from your batteries. I even have a Milwaukee 12 volt because I have an old Milwaukee drill, and it has rechargeable 12 volt battery system, and still working. I've had it for I don't know 30 years. I went and repaired the batteries myself. Took the old cells up, the new ones in. Still works, and and I've used it. The last time I used it was on my boat. I end up using a lot of stuff to do my boat projects because there's literally there's usually no power that you can get to on a yard. Your boat is usually hundreds of yards away from a power source, and by the time you run an extension cord to it, the voltage gets down too much. So it's just easier to plug into my van and just run it off of something like that. And I don't have to have the noise of my van is very quiet, 1,000 RPMs. So yeah. Yes, but the thing is that you have to be able to harvest that. You'd be surprised how hard and how much energy it costs for you to harvest wood, split it, gather it up, um, and you have to have a ready supply of it. My ancestors in Vermont, they formed a business doing that. They were essentially in the energy and lumber business. So, and they were doing it from 1670 on. So, yeah, and it took many, many decades to build the infrastructure that they did. And there's lots of houses up in the Manchester, Vermont area that were built with my ancestors' lumber. It was all virgin growth lumber. It's actually pretty beautiful to look at because it's got no knots in it. It's hard as concrete now. But so, but up there in my, the thing that people don't understand is that um, nobody knows what's going to happen as far as what the Earth is going to do. Okay, there are things people say it's gonna rotate and flip by 45 degrees, basically 90 degrees. Okay, and there's evidence to that effect happening. There's literally mammoths that they found that have freshly chewed grass in their stomach, and they're frozen like freeze dried like that. Um, so that's pretty damning. Um, Scientific fact that actually backs up lots of things that we're now seeing, along with what the Bible talks about. So, yeah, so that's one thing. But the cyber terrorism, whether it's Foxtrot, or whether it's real, um, because of the way that Biden has run things, you now have Russia, who is simulated shooting an American carrier and sinking it 35 miles away from Hawaii, away from Pearl Harbor. Yeah, this is not fake. This is real stuff. You have the National Guard rehearsing a real type of scenario where there's power outage throughout the country. No, not the solar panels, but the inverters. Solar panels are basically just a fancy diode. Matter of fact, you can actually use them as a very inefficient LED if you go the other way. But yeah, then it won't hurt them. It will destroy the inverters. The problem that's the problem. They'll destroy the inverters. So it takes that DC that's coming from your solar panels and inverts that DC to sine wave AC. Those power transistors and that whole circuit, that whole stuff will be fried. Yeah. So EMP will destroy. CME will not. CME will not destroy those inverters. No. Okay. CME will not destroy your car and things. However, the CME will destroy most of your satellites and um, your internet and your electrical grid throughout the world, your substations throughout the world. So you literally have, when a CME is detected, when you see a halo around the sun, you have hours, basically 17 hours to get wherever you're going to get. And that's it. You have to do it on whatever fuel you have. You have a very limited time to stock up on whatever. Don't go to a grocery store, because if the news gets out, the news will get out. That's the worst place. You have to do this. You have to prepare now. Um, maybe, but again, my sister-in-law owns a condo in Long Beach, and I myself, that condo used to be a hotel, and I saw tremendous corrosion in I-beams and the decks and all kinds of things that were holding things together. And I said, and this is an old building built in the 60s where there was asbestos everywhere. Okay. They called it vermiculite, but that's what they use for fire insulation. And if you look at their environment, because they get hit with hurricanes as well. So the reality is that she was tabbed with a bill for like $50,000 because they had to rebuild not only the infrastructure the whole thing, and all the people had to share it. A lot of people couldn't do it, and they had to move. Um, is everybody doing that? Some places they deemed it cheaper to just to take down the whole building and build a new one. This is the risks you get when you live near an ocean on a sandbar. Basically, the Rockaways is nothing different than Florida, Miami. Same thing. You got the Atlantic Ocean there. You got storms. You got in that environment. Every time it rains, it's 15% salt, and it's coming down on all your stuff that's made out of steel and concrete. You know. No. I what happened with me with the solar is that it ruined my house. I'm still in a lawsuit with them, so it wasn't installed properly with the proper flushing. But even it's only got a life of 25 years. Okay, so did that pay for the all the energy and the money that it so called saved me? No, because the I went through four power companies. If Luco, who originally made the deal with me, bought the power, would have made 20, 30, $40,000 a year on that power. Unfortunately, they changed it to where that I was paying all this tax on it, which basically negated the excess power that I was making. So then it was really the only power that I was making and running my own stuff on it. But then I was billed again another tax. So yeah, they made a fortune off of me because they were selling my power that they were basically getting for nothing to my neighbors. Yeah, it's not a good deal. Um, it's not a good deal. And in New York, it's illegal to store because that's what I really wanted to do. I wanted to store the excess power in a bank of batteries because I have a UPS for my computer system and everything else. So I had a place to put the power, but no, I can't do that. So yeah, it was basically I thought it was going to be good, but not because of the green thing, but because of the green thing. Because I saw the electricity bills going through the roof. And reality wise, did it save me what it cost me? No, nowhere near. It cost me like $78,000, and it did not save me that kind of money. Nope. They made a lot of money. Oh, they do. They tax you for everything. They tax you for the power you make. They tax you for the power you use. Oh yeah, they slipped in all kinds of. I did a show on that. If it wasn't taken to go to my library channel, most of my stuff, I've had almost 150 something shows deleted on this. It's now, and they've let me know that they are keeping my demonetization, but they're still going to run ads. Isn't that wonderful? But they're not going to pay me. So much for their thing saying that my channel's not appropriate. No, they're just just trying to hurt. As this, it's what it is. Um, but you know, like I said, what I do here is I try to help. Okay, and I don't bully. That's ridiculous. I've been declared a racist, which is they really don't understand anything about me. They've never looked into my history. Um, because if they did, they'd find out that my father was one of the pioneers of uh, race, so-called. He was the experiment. He was closer to Charles Johnson than he was with his own brother because these guys, spilled blood together, and he was great. He arranged a lot of things when my father died. He was like another father to me. They were both very brave, crazy Navy squids. Um, but yep, want to see a picture of my father? Just look at the "I Have a Dream" speech, and you'll see a white and a black lieutenant, and then their SPDs. So the other news is that I found out my mother, well, I should say my sister is putting my mother into so-called assisted living, which I knew was going to happen. And they, matter of fact, my ex brother-in-law actually brought this place to my attention back in 2005. It's a nice place, but it's still a gilded cage, as it were, right? And so as soon as I found out about the truth, I sent her messages and whatever. She's in this the typical thing: denial, denial, denial. And I'm like, I wanted to drive down and pick you up and drive back with you and spend time with you because you didn't want to take the risk of flying a plane and and put a hatchet in it. Get on with it. Read to her, get her closer to the Lord. And so she's again. Anytime I find out a secret, she cuts off all contact with me. And I just realized, it's just too painful to keep trying. So and that's basically it. I'll take the call if she calls, but I'm not going to call anymore. As you can see, it's just too much pain. So, Sander Gearhart writes, so the power company taxed you. Yep, not the power company, the government. This is all a spun deal. They tax you for the power you're making. You're making power. You're selling it back to us. You got to pay taxes on it. Yeah. So, yeah. And nearly with all the taxes they charged, they came out to zero. They were getting the power for nothing. Isn't that amazing? Isn't it amazing they got the power for $0? It's amazing. No, that's not even the thing. Sandra Gilbert, no, Jesus. She professes to be a Catholic. Um, but the reality is my mother and my sister, they stole tremendous things from me without my knowledge. My father had set up a lot of things because he knew he was going to die. So, but you see, what they did, God covered. Even though I went through some really bad times, those bad times and those other opportunities forced me into other opportunities. other opportunities that I never would have had if I wasn't forced into them. So he took evil and m- made it good. That's what God does. He's done that throughout my life. It's amazing. Uh, but it hurts. It hurts. Um, it hurts that I haven't seen my sister in over 15 years. There was just so much hate from her, too. She's just infested with jealousy since my creation. And it just got worse as my I told the story of meeting my wife, my beautiful wife. I lived with the most beautiful woman from that party. A party I had to take her to get the car, and this woman had everything. I had nothing. I hadn't not even had 2 pennies to rub together, and she was sitting all night instead of meeting some nice looking guy or whatever, all night just trying to listen to me and my future wife. It was such a disturbing thing to where that my wife said to me, well, my at the time, Anne said to me, she said, what's wrong with her? What's wrong with her? And it's kind of the same thing that caused Lucifer the fall from grace from heaven. If it took out an angel, which is supposed to be a superior being to us, what does it do to people? I mean, even God wants about it. He says, "For I am a jealous God." I think he's got two though. I mean, here he is, he creates everything, and then somebody else wants to take the credit for it. I mean, he's got a legitimate grievance there. So just saying. But my sister, unlike her friend Debbie, who was gleaming, smiling, and happy that we found each other, and that my wife was very happy, I was very happy, and I met my soulmate that night. I knew it the second. I, I literally I thought I was in love all the time. No, uh, literally every cell was saying, "This is it," and we couldn't be more opposite. But that's why we work, because together we are really unbeatable. I mean, really, there isn't a lot that can get by either me or her as a unit. We cover a pretty big gamut. Okay. And thus, of course, our sons benefited from that diversity in genes, but also that diversity of knowledge, because knowledge is the true power. Okay. And knowledge is something nobody can take away from you. They can take away your money, but they can't take away something that you know. It's you know not jealousy, but competition is a very good thing. Okay, competitiveness. I played in sports all my life, and then and also my colleagues and the the stuff they used. You always competitive, but it's okay because that just pushes you to do better. Um, and I would not fault somebody for coming up with some beautiful an algorithm that was just so elegant. I said to oh yeah, Bill Throb. I mean, he used to work for Motorola. I mean, oh my God, the genius. I was like, this is. I was looking at this layout of this IC chip, and I was just, I was beautiful. I was like, this is. You should make a print. They did. They eventually made a print of it. I put up. I said, this is beautiful. I said, this is a work of art. Not only does it function, but it's he was the designer of the Motorola 68,000, which was used in the space shuttle and God knows how many other things, including the first Apple Mac. Beautiful. Okay. And yeah. Yep, my sister has children. I was the only uncle that was always buying them educational stuff. Matter of fact, they gave Michael, her son, my father's knife, his Boy Scout knife. Didn't give a crap about it at all. When my son was going to St. John's, he was on the St. John's cheerleading team. Yeah, football player to cheerleader. Anyway, anyway, you know, here's the cheerleaders, and he get my son is like, hey, don't worry about our parents. Come on, cuz let's come to a this cheerleading party. Now, what red-blooded American boy who's 17 years old doesn't want to go to a St. John's cheerleading party? Okay, but my sister put the snafu foo on it, and yeah. So yeah, I haven't, and it's all because I uncovered their lies. See, so as I uncovered their lies or things that my mother and my stepfather actually owned their house because they couldn't get a mortgage. They owned their house, who doing all this stuff. At the time, I had my house burned down. One of my houses burned down, and I was getting an insurance check. So Paul, my brother-in-law, wanted to. I could refund all that stuff you lost in 6 months. I lost about $750,000 worth of equipment. My computer lab was in that place. And the insurance company wasn't going to cover a dime of it. And so I was like, okay. So I'm going to invest that kind of money. I got to look into the real estate. This was 2005, 2006 was when, I was looking in. He's a real estate guy. That's what he does. And Florida real estate. Okay. So I'm looking up for, comps, and he says, oh, there's this house on my street for the. So I'm looking up for comp values, and I uncover the fact that my sister's house is not owned by my sister. It's owned by my stepfather. The mortgage is filed, and I see my mother's signature on it, and my mother's like lying through her teeth that this didn't happen, and I had to show her the PDF of the actual her signature. Oh well, it was your stepfather's idea. Yeah, no, this is the way it was. I remember, Chet had a very bad opinion of me. He says, you think I'm a crappy son and this. He says, oh yes, you treat your mother and sister terribly, blah blah blah. I said, really? I said, so how does my son get a full ride scholarship to the Naval Academy, becomes also the Marine Athlete of the state of New York, was also 5 years at the Rick Accelerator at Brookhaven. My other son gets a letter and a Senate recommendation to the Naval Academy as well. And I keep going through all these things, exactly. So how can I be this so-called bad guy if my sons have turned out so well as I married this unbelievable woman. Finally, she had, my wife had a conversation with him, and she's like, you don't understand, Maria and your wife have been lying to you excessively. This is not what it was or is. And then he started realizing it. He started realizing it to where that the last time I met him, he called me into his bedroom and he showed me pictures of my family, my sons, Bobby, and all kinds of things through the academy, and everything else. He actually went to I Day, and I had made special arrangements for the graduation of my son. To They assigned a youngster to the World War II vets, and they got around better than anybody at the 2010 graduation. But again, my sister curtailed, made sure she had a party for her son on the same day. My mother made excuse that Chet couldn't come or whatever, and that's why she couldn't come. Nope. Also didn't come to my other son's graduation as well. And I had to beg my son to have her at my son's wedding in 2013. There, she so-called made a pact with them that things will be different, and everything else. I don't have much of a recollection due to my stroke. After like a couple of months after that, the my stroke was in 2015, April 10th, but from basically December of 2013 on to the um, stroke, and then maybe about 6 months, 5 6 months after that. I mean, I was keeping a series novel, as it were, on my phone, but I had lost those memories. They're gone. So because my mother says that this is all my fault, of course. You know, yet um, she stole my Social Security for and other monies for 5.5 years, and then in addition to that, for 2 years, she was charging me rent in her house here in Huntington, plus collecting 950 a month from Social Security, collecting another $300 from me for rent. And I had to make the apartment in the basement. I had to build it myself. Um, yeah, and I said to my soon to be wife, I said, we got to get out. I got to get out of here. My mother's bleeding me dry. so, so when the opportunity came to get married, I got married. And I remember the apartment that we had at Hempstead was $750 a month, but it was ours, and that was really nice. Um, I did not know at the time. Still, my mother was collecting the $950 a month from the Social Security, which was why the IRS came to me about 6 months later and wanted to arrest me because that's illegal. Oh, yes, fun times. And then I was called by my brother-in-law that I'm a piece of dirt because I gave my mother to the feds. I would have lost everything. I would have lost my SPIC rating. I would have lost my controller job for First United Fund Ltd. I would have lost everything, and my future employment in Merrill and all these other places. I would have, you know, that didn't matter because the guys are like, "Yeah, dude, Chase Van Hatten, here's your signature," and I'm like, I have my Fed ID on me. I'm like, "That's not my signature. This is my signature." I said, "That looks a lot like my mother's signature." I closed that account a long time ago. I opened it for a newspaper route I had. Yeah. So, you know, Lord knows how much money she funneled through that account. Doesn't matter. He knows. It didn't help either of them. No matter what they bought, the reality was, and I was asking them. I said, "How can you afford these brand new these cars?" They were going through cars like it's unbelievable. I'm like, "How can you afford these cars?" Yeah, now I know. I just believed them. Why would you doubt them? They're your mother and your sister. But they would always shut up when I would walk into a room. They were always, you know, yeah, that's, you know, yeah, don't believe this whole other thing about, Trump running for the Speaker of the House. If you think that the rhinos who you saw Mitt Romney was there on the White House lawn and having all these the Romneys of the world, the rhinos are back in charge. Okay, they're part of the problem, part of the backstabbers because they call themselves Republicans. They're not. They're not Republicans. They're not. They're part of the elite crowd. Um, yeah, so, but I tell you, please be on alert because now a CME, a bad one, blew off at 90 degrees, which means it's going to hit Mars and Venus, both of them, both of those planets. Um, if it didn't, that place that it came from is turning towards us. Okay? This is, folks, within 5 years, this is going to happen. Okay, just going to happen. I would not want to be an astronaut in the near future because they're planning on doing all the space travel just as the sun is peaking up its solar cycle and CMEs and everything else. You must design the spacecraft for the worst because you're just going to literally put people into a microwave oven and they're going to be fried alive. Um, Simple as that. Elon Musk plan for the space station on the moon is pretty good. It's not bad. He plans on using the lava tubes and underground structures. That's actually the most logic I've heard from anybody. That's a pretty good plan because that would shield you from a lot of the nasties, as well as um, ice and other types of heavy saturated water things. So not bad to that. But um, the space travel, unless you had literally 100 feet of you're enclosed in 100 feet of water around you somehow, maybe more. Yeah, I'd want 500 feet of water. That's the only way you're going to be safe. You have to basically treat it like you're literally standing on top of a reactor core, which is the sun. The sun is a lot more radioactive than any reactor. So yeah, we've already been through this. The JDOD, no. Yeah, you prove to me that it's flat, and I will give you an explanation to why that your proof is wrong. I'm sorry I had to start early because I have a urologist appointment, which is just so much fun. Because I passed another stone yesterday, the day before yesterday, which is I still feel that there's something in my right kidney. I'm telling you, world peace. World peace. If anybody invents a kidney stone gun, world peace, guarantee. You'll see the enemy go. Please shoot us with nukes. Nuke us. Don't use the kidney stone gun. Don't use it. I read from Ezekiel. They, you know, It's just plumbing, people. It's not. Thank God, I'm okay. But I'm the side effects man. So take a Vogue picture of me, and then side effects man. I should make a T-shirt. Side effects man. If there is a side effect to a drug, I get it. Except for aspirin, because I didn't have kidney stones for 2 years, and then I start taking this new blood pressure medicine, and bingo, within 3 weeks, I had kidney stones. Is that amazing or what? Yeah, something that's supposed to lower my blood pressure has done nothing but put it into stroke land. I went to the hospital. My blood pressure was 236 over like 190. And forget it. I was in so much pain you could cut my leg off, and I would like, was leg. So you know, it, they in the ambulance they gave me 15 milligrams of morphine. Did nothing. They gave me another 10 milligrams in the hospital, plus another 20 milligrams of Thoradol, and then this other drug to stop me from vomiting from the pain. Was just like ridiculous. And I'm telling you, I was ready to go into my Vegas, Vigal, Venus, whatever, Venus, Vagal, whatever. Basically, it's like it pops the main circuit breaker in your head because your body just can't stand the pain it's in. So, yeah, that's how much pain you're in. And I'm not the kind of guy. I don't sit there going, like screaming like a bloody idiot like some of these other people. I basically just, yeah, it hurts. Hey, they asked me from 0 to 10, sir, how is your pain? 150. Nope, it's strictly. No, I'm on a diet that basically is so hungry I can eat wood. If you put a condiment on it, no, it was strictly to the actual pills. There's a thing in WebMD actually for these pills that if you take them, it can cause gout and kidney stones. I got both. It's a wonderful thing. Yeah. So, yeah. Yeah. And when your pressure goes up that high, you're not in chest pain, but it feels like there's an elephant sitting on top of you because you're in so much pain that your ribs, your back, you're like, please stop that person from using a baseball bat on my back. Yeah, it's just one big pain, and it's very unpleasant. Very unpleasant. Oh, my wife threw the Constitution in the trash. Yeah. I might have done this because I was quite angry the other day. So, do you believe me now when I say to you that Barrett and Kavanaugh are now owned? Okay. Yep. And since they have proof now that they've been owned, that's further going to be used as blackmail as well. So I'm trying the natural ways. The big thing is my dog. Oh, Max, come. You didn't see this. Max. Yeah. Max has got some news for you guys. Right, Max? Come on up here. Come on, let me show you your thing. I think I have to lower the camera. Yeah. Here, it's okay. See? That's his service medal. It's your service medal. He's now my official service dog. That's pretty cool, right? I know. Have you been running bone calculus to calculate how many bones I owe you? You do. You have, right? You have a place in the house where you scratch a thing to make how many bones I owe you. You'll substitute that for bacon? Interesting. He'll do anything for bacon. Anything for bacon. He'll paint your house for bacon. I'm not saying he'll do a good job. He'll leave paw prints all over the place, but he'll try it. All right, Max. Will you do that? I think I went a little. Will you do yes? So yes, yes, yeah. You passed all your tests. Oh, you were good. Oh, you stayed. Oh, you healed. Oh, you were good. Oh, you just love me. Yes. So how can I be that bad if this dog loves me? Just saying. So yeah, it's a sad thing because I know that oh God, if my father was alive with my sons, first of all, I'd have to probably kick him out of the house almost every day, and he he definitely would not have missed my son's football games, and he definitely wouldn't have missed my son's graduation from the academy. Especially, my son had top honors, and then she also missed his winging. My father and the history of the wings, because I pinned them on my son. The history of the wings had to be read. And my father's war record and deeds of flight medals, and that his name's on the moon. My mother missed all that. So I have to say that my son's gold wings, which are my father's gold wings, are flying high. Tremendous. With everything that's going on now, I'm very concerned and worried. I will tell you what's going on. The Soviet Union has rehearsed sinking a carrier 35 miles away from Pearl Harbor. The Soviet Union has more than threatened, shot over a British frigate, also a cruiser in the Black Sea. China was basically sent enough and rehearsed enough to show that they are going to do the same as what they did to Hong Kong, as they are going to do to Taiwan, as well as the Apple newspaper in Hong Kong is no more. Freedom in Hong Kong is no more. So, if something happens, the best of our Navy is going to be summoned into a conflict because we don't have, um, through the political correctness of the Obama Biden years, for example, there were no graduates in the United States Naval Academy from the state of New York. Um, when my son graduated, only 14 people were selected to become pilots, aviators, And out of those, only 6 made it. The rest washed out. If you're thinking, wow, um, yeah, and if you're thinking that the attrition rate is higher than that, you're right. And having the policy of meeting a specific poster, which is both sexist and racist, actually, not the best people for the job, period. I don't care if they're paisley, if they're purple, green. I don't care. I want the best people for the job, period. The ones who score the highest. You have a $13.5 billion ship. You have probably at least that, at least half that or more in aircraft and parts. And then if you count the investment of $1.5 million per pilot, another billion, and then your personnel and their training to make it seaworthy, this is just one ship. A lot of money and a lot of time and a lot of talent um, to make a carrier, naval carrier, not to mention all support, ships and crew and everything else, and logistics to make it all work. A lot of time and money to make this work. Those systems and those people are not turnkey. The Obama and Biden system, basically, with the sequester, they killed a lot of people. I know of one young man who had everything. Could have been my son. And he was one of many. So, to all those who have your sons and your daughters and your husbands and wives that are serving this great country, I I understand, and I pray for all you every night. With that, I'm going to sign off because those patriots were the best things that this country has. They're usually the most talented. So I don't care if whatever you call yourself, I care if you're the most and the best in your specific job, whatever it is. That's what I care about. Because that's what's going to keep my son safe and other sons and daughters safe. Anyway, God bless. Have a great weekend. And God help us. God help us all.